today we've just listened to the Patimokkha chanting, and 28 monks come together, and also had the opportunity to come and visit Dan Chokun Sopon Pawanawitet, Ajahn Kalyano. This is the 20, how many years? 24th year of this monastery. And so many things have developed and prospered in this monastery. You have the sasana watu, the material aspects of the sasana. So we have the Uposatha hall here, and some salas and kutis, resting places. And then there's the sasana pukala, so the people, the members of the dispensation. So many people have come and to help out, making merit at this monastery. And especially important are those who have come to ordain. And so it's been 6 years since I last came here, and many have come to ordain in that time. And this is something that's really delightful to see. And so we have senior monks here. We have your abbot, Ajahn Kalyano, about 70 years old. And there's also the new generation of monks who will be the energy for the Buddha Sasana in order for it to continue its age. So therefore we have this intent to come and practice. And today we had Venerable Satya Dhammo, I think, who hasn't been ordained for very long, but has had this intent to study the Vinaya and the 227 rules of the Patimokkha. So each day, each 15 days, we gather together in order to study, to contemplate, reflect upon our virtue. That is there anything which we are able to find fault with in ourselves? And also our wise friends, is there anything that they can find fault with regards to our sila? And we try to keep our precepts and our sila purely for the sake of the arising of samadhi. And samadhi is for the sake of wisdom arising. So when we look after our precepts well, then this will give us peace and ease both in our hearts and in our body as well. And that we're not doing anything, or there's nothing that we've done in the past that aggravates us, that makes us feel ill at ease. But rather what we've done gives us a sense of ease and fullness of heart. And so we take the Buddha as our highest refuge, that we have no other refuge. And the same with the Dhamma and the Sangha. So this taking of the Buddha as our highest refuge, that means as so Buddha, this nature of awakening. And we then bring our own minds to purity, following the Buddha and following the teachings that he gave. And so this is the way of entering into awakening, and for the true Sangha to arise, and seeing all things, whether they're material things or immaterial things, as being empty. So contemplating to see that. And if we see all material and immaterial things as empty, then the heart becomes very spacious, at ease, cool and peaceful. And this is our true refuge. So what we have recited before, then we practice following that. And then and the fact that we can enter into this holy life, becoming monks, what that means is that we've had to give up a lot in the world. Our happiness in the world, being able to follow our desires. And we take up this nekkhamma, this renunciation instead. And so ordaining as a monk, it's not something that's easy to do. And perhaps before, when we were lay people, we saw monks who had been ordained for 5 years or 10 years, and we may think, well, how can they possibly do that? Because as lay people, we just follow our moods. And it's really hard to go against those. But when we've ordained already, then we can't follow those moods. So we here have Ajahn Kalyano and Ajahn Yanadipo teaching us and guiding us to be very inspiring and beautiful externally, and that there is a form and a way of doing things, and teaching us how to show respect, how to bow, how to be humble, and to do and fulfill our monastic duties well. So all of this is already very good. And now what we need to do is to be constantly mindful and to be meditating all the time. Whether we're standing, walking, sitting, or lying down, and that we are constantly reciting our meditation words and cultivating our hearts, maintaining a sense of control over our minds. And especially with regards to the objects which destroy our peace of mind, which is delight towards forms, whether it's our own form or the form of others. So when we ordained, the Upajjhaya preceptor gave us these meditation objects of Kesa, Loma, Naka, Danta, Tacho. So we try to contemplate those. And so we pull off the skin in these bodies, because what we see with our eyes, it's just the outer parts of the body. But what's inside, and what's that like? What's there? And there are 27 other parts inside this body. But all we see with our eyes is just the hair of the head, hair of the body, the nails, the teeth, the skin. And when we see teeth, really what those are just bones. And there are all these other parts in the body, all these other bones within the body, but they have flesh covering them up. And so we're not able to see them. So we should try to see the skeleton there within and see how that's not something attractive, and pulling the skin off these bodies. If the mind is not at peace, it's difficult to contemplate in this way. But we should try to contemplate in a way that allows the mind to settle into peace. And when this happens, then nimittas, these visual images within the mind, can appear. And it's possible to bring those up, to recollect those, and ones that we're very skilled in contemplating, until that becomes a very clear image within the mind, and we can see distinctly that the body is not something attractive. We can contemplate the food entering into the body and how as soon as it comes in, it becomes filthy. And it comes in, the body works away and it digests it, and then when it exits, it's something filthy. And the same with clean water that we put in. As soon as we put it in, it becomes unclean. So the food is like this as well. We take that in, and the body absorbs it and then excretes it, and it's not something clean at all. So we should contemplate this each day in order to remove the delight that we have towards these bodies. And we shouldn't just toss away these 5 kammatthānas that our preceptor gave us, but rather really contemplate them until we begin to see clearly into the nature of the body. You can contemplate it as being a bag of bones, or a bag of blood, a bag of maggots, until we see that clearly, until the body can break apart. And you see it as just being natural elements, and those in turn break apart into emptiness. And that there's no core, there's no essence to it, there's no self there. And here the mind becomes empty. And when this happens, then there's a joyousness to the mind, when we see that clearly. And the knowing and the insight becomes more and more clear, in line with the stability of our samadhi. And then through that, wisdom grows. And so we should be training our hearts then with this restraint with regards to the patimokkha as our foundation. And this allows us to not be heedless and to not just follow the actions of body and speech which are not good, which are not wholesome. And when we do that, then it becomes easier for us to develop samadhi. So even though before we ordained we may have studied many various subjects, but when coming to ordain there's also things we need to learn as well. So like studying the Thai language, or learning the patimokkha, and all of the other chants that we need to recite as well, and so that we can rely upon ourselves. And wherever we go, we have abilities that allow us to be of benefit to those places. And so like reciting, being able to recite the patimokkha, even though we haven't been ordained for a very long time, this is something that's very good to do. And for myself, there's one time I listened to, when I was a very new monk, listened to patimokkha recitation by a monk who was over 60 years old, and it took him 1 hour and 45 minutes to chant it. And before that, I hadn't thought that I would learn the chant. But then when listening to this, I thought, well, if the newer generation doesn't learn, then who's going to chant? And we're just going to have these people 60 years old chanting it for 1 hour and 45 minutes, and that's not a good thing. So then, after that, I learnt how to chant it. But also when chanting, we need to have an awareness over ourselves as well. That the first time that I chanted, I'd listened to other people chant, and they did so in a very beautiful, kind of melodious, or a way that sounded really nice. But for myself, my physical body wasn't able to do that. I tried chanting it in that way, but ran out of energy after not long, and the sound just wasn't really coming out. And then the recitation became very stilted. But I'd heard other people chanting it, this beautifully going up, the sound rising and then falling and then rising, and thought that sounded really nice. But for myself, I wasn't really able to do it in that way. But there's one time that I chanted it and I'd prepared well. And so Luang Por Anan was there, and I thought I needed to really establish my mind for that chanting. And things just came together. My samadhi arose. The body and mind felt light. And there was this ease within the heart. And Luang Por Anan, in praise the chanting, said that I chanted it very well. And the people who listened felt at ease as well. But from the first time that I chanted it, it took about an hour, and I just didn't have any energy after not too long to produce much sound. There wasn't much coming out. And the person who was checking it wasn't checking with metta. Rather, whenever I'd make a mistake, he just kind of pointed out straight away, but not in a kind way. And so that was the first time that I chanted it. But as I trained and practiced further, and then it steadily got better. And I was able to eventually chant in a way that I felt at ease, and the people who were listening allowed their minds to come into stillness and ease as well. So this chanting of the Patimokkha brings a lot of benefit. And this chanting of our precepts, this is something that we need to study as well. But whatever the case, we shouldn't forget our practice of walking meditation and sitting meditation, of meditating a lot, sitting for long hours, walking for long hours. And we also need to maintain our standards, whatever activities there are in the Sangha, to come together and to do those, to not be selfish. So like the Acharya, what the duties of looking after the senior monks, these are things that we need to do. And they kind of allow us to live together well, to be good monastics. So in the beginning we are monks with regards to looking after our precepts. But then as we practice, the true monk arises within the mind, which is someone who has this quality of samadhi and of wisdom. And so there are these dhammas of sila, of samadhi, and of wisdom. And these come together and support one another. And they spin around, bringing the body and the mind to ease and lightness. And then you can see the truth of the body, that it's just composed of natural elements that breaks, and we can't find any self there. And the mind becomes empty, there's no doubts. You see how all the practices we do, all the standards we keep are for the sake of seeing the truth. And so may you set your hearts on training in this way. And I give my anumodana, rejoice in Ajahn Kalyano, who has trained the Sangha here well. And also my anumodana to all of the monastics, all of the monks and novices who are helping to continue Buddhism. Sadhu to you all.